order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 o'clock on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public input session. There's no members of the press here, so welcome to our meeting. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. The first one being 5/17. So Maria, you're going to make that motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the minutes of our 5/17/2022 meeting. I believe you're abstaining.
Second?
Okay.
Am I abstaining or are you abstaining?
Jeff is abstaining.
Second, okay.
Yes. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining?
Okay.
So that's 4-1. All right, and then I need a motion for the June 7th meeting.
I move that the committee accepts the minutes of the regular school committee meeting on June 7th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, any questions, concerns?
I abstain on that one.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
I
One.
abstain.
Okay. So 4-1. All right, we don't have our student representatives. Dr. Hirsch, any good news?
We have officially ended our school year, and it was a wonderful closing to the end of the school year. Byam's last day for teachers was today, and everybody's working diligently to pack up their rooms and have a great summer break.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you to all of our staff, throughout the district, for all of their hard work throughout this year. It was an interesting year transitioning back from last year. Not easy by any means, and it really took a concerted effort on part of all of our staff in order to be able to get through this year successfully.
I just wanted to add, congratulations to all the parents that now have their kids back in their house 24 hours a day, just like we were back in COVID, so it's great.
Thank you, John.
Oh, gee.
So,
You're welcome.
all right.
I'm the only one with young kids.
So we do not have any public comments for this evening, so we'll jump right into new business. Elaine?
Thank you. Yes, several items this evening. The first, I'm going to ask Joanna Johnson-Collins, our Director of Business Finance, to review with you. As you recall, we have contracted custodial cleaning services that work in our schools. As a district, we employ the main building custodian as a Chelmsford Public School employee at each of our elementary, middle, and high schools. And then at nighttime, we supplement that service with a contracted cleaner. And we've done this for quite some time. It is cost-effective and also really provides an excellent level of cleaning in the buildings. It's been very well subscribed in Chelmsford. We got in a habit a few years back of actually having multiple contractors be working with us, just so that we don't have a complete contract with one vendor. If we ever were to have an issue either with their service or follow-through or whatnot, we have some redundancy within the group. So we actually currently have 3 different companies that are working with us, and the recommendation is to move to 2. But I will ask Joanna to review the results of the bid with you, and then the recommendation for your consideration.
Thank you. We put out an RFP earlier this spring for this work, and we received 7 responses. And then we had a committee that ranked their RFP based on about 7 or 8 different criteria that was in the RFP. And then we invited 4 of the 7 to come in for presentations. And then we opened the price proposals and compared the prices to those who ranked high on the RFP. The results were that we're going from 3 companies down to 2 companies National Facility Services, Inc. is going to do our elementary schools. For, in year one, the total contract value will be $231,776. And the high school, the middle school, the Westlands Community Ed Building, and the Central Administration Building is being awarded to Dynamic Janitorial Services, and year one was going to be $600,444. So this totals, where's my total? $832,220, which is a savings from what we had to put a number in the fiscal year 2023 budget way back in February. So we're coming in under on this as a result of the process in year one.
Are these the same companies we had before? Are there any new ones?
National Facility Services is a new one.
Okay.
We have Dynamic today at the high school.
Okay. So they're doing the middle school now too?
Correct.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Joanna?
When we compare the savings, does that take into account whatever happened for COVID, additional cleaning or anything?
This is just the regular
Just the
cleaning.
regular
This is
comparison.
not, this RFP was not for COVID cleaning.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, then I will take a motion to accept these contracts. I think, are we going to do them separately?
Yes.
Okay.
I move that the committee accept the base bids and award the contracted custodial cleaning services for the Chelmsford Public Schools commencing on July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 to the following two vendors: National Facility Services, Inc., 239 Littleton Road, Suite 5A, Westford, for the 4 elementary schools in the amount of $231,776, and Dynamic Janitorial Cleaning, Inc., 176 Main Street, Milford, Mass., for the 2 middle schools, Chelmsford High School, the Community Education Building, and the Central Administration Offices in the amount of $600,444.
Second.
All right, are there any further questions? Jay, I should have clarified. What I meant was, did we have to vote on national first and then dynamic?
Oh, it's up to you. You can vote them as a package as long as it prevails. If it ever didn't prevail, you'd have to break them out.
All right.
But if there's a majority that wants to go with both, that's fine.
All right. So is there any questions or concerns regarding this contract?
So it's just a one-year contract?
It's a one-year contract with an option for renewal at our discretion for years 2, and then another one in year 3.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, then, we'll take a vote. I believe this is a roll call vote.
Correct.
All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Donna? Aye, 5-0.
Great. We'll get those contracts drafted and probably before you, next time we meet for signatures. Thank you. Second item on the agenda this evening is another vote of the school committee. You know, we have most of our staff are actually part of one of our collective bargaining groups in the district. We do have a number of staff who are considered non-affiliated. Therefore, they don't have a contract to fall back on or any type of salary schedule. And it's been customary that the school committee votes annually to grant them a cost of living increase, which is in line with other bargaining groups going forward. So what's before you this evening is a list of all of our non-affiliated staff. Joanna has prepared and certainly can answer any questions you'd like, but it recommends an increase of 2.5% to the annual salary or the hourly rate effective July 1. So we bring that forward for your consideration and vote this evening.
All right, is there any discussion?
Can I ask a question about these positions? I know we review the positions and so on. At what point does a position become an administrator? Is there, so in other words, they're out of the administrator's contracts. But for example, I'm looking at the data management position. It's a non-bargaining position. But, you know, it looks like that person manages a function. At what point does a person become deemed to be an administrator within that contract?
They wouldn't just be automatically deemed on their own. It's twofold. Normally, you have your different unions that have different contracts that they represent. So the union would actually have to reach out and say, well, I think this particular position is in line with our particular union. It represents a common interest among our groups. We would like this position to be included within our bargaining group. It can be done then at that point voluntarily, if it's something that the school committee agrees with and wants to have a position be added to a union, or the school committee could object, to which would just be a longer process. With the union, you would have to file a request for the position to be included at the Department of Labor Relations, and you would have to go through a process on that front. But it can be either employee-driven or union-driven, but these particular positions, that has not happened. What we would have to look at, if that ever came up, not necessarily even that position, but any position, is there anything that position does that isn't aligned with that particular group who would be representing them? Or oftentimes this comes up with, say, confidential employees. So if you have employees who are working, say, in my office or in the personnel office, who are privy to different information, they would need to be excluded. Individuals who might participate also, again, doesn't happen all the time with this group, but with collective bargaining and things like that, wouldn't be tied in with a particular bargaining group. But it could be either employee or union initiated.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
How are these people covered language-wise? I know each of the, other groups have language within the contracts that spell out certain things. Was it just an employee at will type of thing? Was it?
Yeah, they all basically serve as employees at will. And they receive typically the same benefit package that aligns with a similar type job. So a clerical role, even if it's not affiliated, would receive the same, say, holidays and things
Yeah,
like
that's what I
that,
was thinking, yeah.
that a covered secretary would receive. It's very similar.
Any other questions? All right.
I move that the school committee approve the 2.5% increase to the annual salary or hourly rate of pay as specified for the non-affiliated staff listed in the report effective as of July 1st, 2022.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Third item on the agenda this evening, I'll ask Joanna to speak to. This is our annual financial audit of our student activity funds. This is the high school fund. Every year we do either high school or middle schools. But you have a copy before you, and I included one in your packet. But Joanna, would you mind walking them through that?
So the auditors came out in February and reviewed the high school student activity. So this is all the clubs and the sports, and this is the largest of the three funds, over 200,000. There were no findings. They do have some recommendations for improving our process, which we always, look at and try to adopt if we can. One still keeps popping up, which is this numbering of ticketing, which is, I don't know of any district who's met this one, but we'll get closer as we move to more online collecting of revenue. And then they recommend keeping the number down for the amount of a reimbursement to advisor, and try to have that cost go directly, pay the vendor, which we try to encourage. But sometimes either time is tight or they just can't find what they want, from the vendor, and they want to run over to, a local store and buy it. So that's.
So any questions?
Just one of the other recommendations is closing out accounts.
Oh,
that have been
right.
inactive.
This
It's
was
in
an
8
odd
accounts.
one because, if a fund doesn't have activity for 3 years, Principal Murray should, and we would remind him to close it out. With COVID, it was kind of odd. We had clubs that didn't have activity. So anyway, we sent him over, there were a few of them, to close out the club. And then right away, we had to open it right back up again because they started up again because COVID was over. So I understand why they wrote that, and we did We closed it as they recommended, and then we reopened as,
Because I know like the badminton club has $1 in it or something like that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I do have a question. So I noticed it under, it was revenue receipts and deposits. In terms of the timeliness of signatures, is that continuing to be a problem?
I think they're doing a pretty good job, at the high school. They go, to the bank, they get their slip, Principal Murray and the advisor sign it, and then we get a batch. And I think they're in a good flow. From the auditor's recommendation is it needs to be even quicker.
Okay. Right. And
But, we do reconcile to the bank statement every month. So, I think that's, and they say that too, that's really valuable and important. And then if we could just speed up the time of that documentation, they would be even happier.
So the first two looked more procedural, but the third one under student travel looked like it could involve a policy change on our part. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Refresh.
It was,
Final accountability statement.
right, exactly. Final accountability statement submitted by the person who does the trip.
Oh, right. So what we do here is, when there's a field trip, we have all the field trip forms that you guys see too when you approve field trips out of state. And then we get that form and we attach it to the deposit, and then we also attach it to any of the expenses. And then what we do is we, in the business office, keep a little spreadsheet of each field trip and what the revenue is and what the expense is. And that was actually at the recommendation of the auditor like 5 years ago that we started this. And I was like, okay, good idea. So that one field trip isn't subsidizing another, or you're not overcharging. Great. Now what they're saying is to have the advisor write that up. So, we'll definitely go back and share this with Principal Murray. Well, he heard about it in the readout, and just say, what's the easiest way to do this? Do you want, we can do it independent. The advisor can do it on its own and match our spreadsheet and do it that way, or we can help them and they can just verify and try to have it be the least burdensome on everyone.
Okay.
But if we do see that a field trip is way over, which we're not, they're pretty tight, you definitely raise it with Principal Murray and say, you don't have to charge, $20, you could charge 18.
Okay. So as you're kind of reviewing that, if there's any changes that you need in terms of our policies, please let us know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Marie, do you have a question?
On this student travel, they do recommend that we update our policy.
Right, and that's what Joanna's going to do, is talk to Principal Murray and see what the best way to go about
Okay,
changing that accountability, that final accountability process is.
okay, because we don't have one at all, right?
Right, not right now.
policy.
And then make a recommendation, and then we'll figure out what we need to change in our
Okay,
policy.
thank
We have a
you.
policy, we just don't have the final accountability thing.
Fully
Correct,
part of it.
right, right. Does anybody have any other questions?
What happens again with this class thing? 2020, I think, has a lot of money.
So they audited, the date at the top is the end of, a year ago, June 30th, 2021, okay? So since that time, in our quarterly updates, you've gotten balance sheets that are more current. So since that time, the class of 2020, which was the one, remember, we all went home March 13th. So that was the one that we had a very large amount of money that went to their future class reunions,
Okay,
okay? They gave their class gift, they gave to the scholarship funds, all that good stuff. And then there was still over $40,000. And that went to the Alumni Association for their first reunion in 5 years. Okay? And then we're just finishing up class of 2021, because you have a year. They had some minor little invoices that popped up, and we got those paid. So they will be doing the same thing. They did their class gift. They did their to the scholarship fund, and now whatever that balance is will go for future reunions. And then class of 2022 will have a little bit more time. They have a year to, we don't like to wait a year. You know, it's better to, but they have up to a year to figure it out.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Do we have to vote to adopt this report?
Yeah, just a vote to accept the financial report from the auditors.
I move that the school committee accept the financial audit report of the Chelmsford High School Student Activity Fund as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0?
As always, very nice job.
Yes.
No, it's the advisors, it's the teams, it's the business office, it's every day looking at that documentation.
Next item on the agenda this evening is, as we're starting to get close to the end of the fiscal year and all of our closeouts, looking for approval to, I'm going to ask Joanna to speak to this as well, prepay some out-of-district tuitions again. And as we did last year, we actually have an up to amount, because this is a number that we're going to back into as the school year closes. But this is the first step in the process. So Joanna, would you mind walking them through that?
Okay, so with the tuitions, as you recall, you know, we budget, we know how much all the tuitions are, then we have the offset to circuit breaker, and then we have a net amount, which is in the budget. So we know what our tuitions is, you know, cash out the door this year. I've completed the journal entry transferring the amount over to the circuit breaker fund, which we're at the cap that we can carry in that fund. It's 1 year of revenue, so this was a known number. We had to transfer $2,330,272 from the local budget to the circuit breaker revolving, fund. That's been done. Once that was complete, we still have 1.8 million in that line in the budget. And remember, that's because we didn't budget for prepaid tuitions or the Valley credit. So we knew we were going to be favorable. So now we're narrowing down what's our top number within the category of what prepaid tuitions could be. And tonight, we're recommending the 1.8 million. Amy Reese is working on the very detailed list of what that will be, and she'll do purchase orders per provider based on you are agreeable to the 1.8 million, and then I can report back where we actually landed. And then just anything left, then we talked about before, we've set up that new special ed fund with the town. So anything we come in under, we bring back to the committee to transfer to that new fund. And then the second page is just it's just one page of our regular year-to-date budget report for this DESI category to show where the 1.8 million came from.
Does anybody have any questions? I do have a question. So when we prepay, this is prepaid tuition, not transportation, tuition only.
Tuition only.
And same for that account, whatever is left over that we roll that money into, that's only for tuitions, not for transportation.
It's really for any special ed cost, so it could be for transportation.
This one's only tuition.
Yeah, but
Right.
this,
The other one can be
yeah.
all types of sped.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's got more flexibility. But you require the double vote to get the money out.
Was that the state's way of getting around having to fund special education transportation?
No, I think this is actually totally, I know you like me to say yes, but it was a different thing.
Okay,
I don't think it really had anything to do with that.
all right, I was just wondering. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes,
Sorry.
it's okay, it's just, thought maybe in my lifetime I'd see that issue resolved.
Yeah, no,
So.
don't hold your breath.
All right, then I will take a motion.
I move that the school committee vote to approve the FY 2022 local operating budget transfer totaling up to $1,802,369 to fund prepaid out-of-district tuitions for the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria? Donna? 5-0.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. So that brings us to the McCarthy Tennis Court Study Group. So Dr. Lang and I have had a chance to meet, and when we take a look at what we had decided on in our meeting in May with regards to what policy we were going to be using, and we were going to be using the advisory committee to the school committee as the guidelines for this particular group. So some of the things that we have to talk about tonight are what the configuration of the group will look like, as well as when our first meeting will be, and then a frame for kind of what we would like to see this committee be able to achieve, and then how long it is that we think that we would like to have this committee meet before we present a recommendation. Did I cover everything? All right. So is it all right if I start?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you. So in terms of the configuration from the school committee, I know that Jeff and John had expressed an interest.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that's great. What
Does that
I,
actually mean I have to work with Jeff, or is it just, I'm just kidding.
yeah, yes. And then we also
I'm
had.
still in, we're good.
We also had two community members that expressed an interest, Christine McNamara and Joe Reddy.
Yep.
So those would be my recommendations to present to you as, who it is from the school committee side that we would like to see on the committee.
Okay.
And then the superintendent also has some recommendations.
Yeah, I think it would be important for Dan Hart, the athletic director at the high school, either Kurt McPhee or Kerry Calabrese, the principal and assistant principal at McCarthy, because it's on that site, just to figure out how it could be used during the day. And myself, I think that would just make it a workable group from the school side. And then I do think we should extend an invitation to Christine Clancy, who's the new DPW director, or her designee, to figure out who from that group might want to represent and keep things in line. And then, Christine obviously works with Paul Cohen, the town manager, and can keep the select board involved, or, go from there. But I think that'd be a pretty workable group.
Yep.
And I think would represent all the different interests.
Well, can I ask, you're making an assumption, so Dan Hart, that it's going to be sports, we're definitely going to be putting something sports-related on that space. Do we want to,
Well, and I say Dan because it's currently a sports facility. Again, I don't know what could go there.
All right.
But I just think he at least has a grasp on what's happening sports-related at the high school level in particular. And then Kurt and Kerry would know during the school day how they might use the site,
sure, we're going to have a lot of debates, I feel like, about what the,
about the site.
yeah. Dan Hart's fine, we should maybe have other stakeholders that might have interest in that space too, science-related, other types of social spaces, just besides Dan Hart. I don't know if we're going to replace tennis courts with tennis courts, right?
What would you recommend?
I don't know. There's other use spaces. It's a huge amount of space that I don't necessarily want to plop 3 new courts on, or just pickleball, right? But that's why we're going to have the committee speaking. I just think that maybe we should have other stakeholders besides the sports person.
Well, I think the committee can reach out to other groups. They can reach out to the
Right.
police department, they can reach out to community preservation, they can reach out to some of these other groups that might have an interest in it and to get some input from them.
Yeah.
So you don't want to make your committee so large, you have 27 people in a.
It's fair.
If you have a group of whatever you have there, 8 people, you can kind of then start doing outreach from there.
But we don't even know where it's going, or like what would be looked at, so I think once the group meets and kind of talks about even a game plan for how we want to work.
Sure.
We can figure out if there's other people that we should get invited in.
Right. Because I think that I think what we were tasked with, based on what Paul Cohen gave to us, was to make some recommendations for how it is that space should be used. But
Sure.
we weren't necessarily locked into, as you said, an athletic space, but.
Right. It's the only head, though. I mean, it's all, the sports person is the only. I'm just saying that when we were on I mean, besides you, it's Dan Hart. Like, there's no other coordinator type people, like,
Well, I don't know what the space, like, I really don't have a sense for like what it could become. And it's currently an athletic space, so I just thought it made sense to have he be there, whether it remains athletic or not. But once the group kind of gets a sense for where they want to go with it, we can figure out who might want to.
the other stakeholders.
As well, you know.
Yeah.
I think at the town meeting, one of the alternative uses would be parking spaces.
No, absolutely not.
Well, okay, but that was,
An open mind.
but that,
That's not going to be my vote, so.
okay, but that was one of the alternative uses. So it seemed to me, when that came up, that it was probably because maybe somebody decided that operationally for the town and for the school system, more parking spaces were needed. So you're going to be there in the committee to assess what the needs are. From the town perspective, it's the DPW? Okay, I think that's good.
Yes.
Maria, the reason why that came up was when it was the election day, there was a track meet
Oh, I
going
know,
on.
I was here.
But on the other side of McCarthy,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of parking. So if ever there would be a situation like that, again, whether you direct the sporting venue over, because, you know, when our kids played, you usually parked over that side, and then you leave
Yeah.
it for the voting. But I think that's what prompted the,
It was
parking
actually
space.
serious. I was here at that particular time, and quite a few folks who would need the access right near the door just wasn't available. But who coordinates the rentals and the use of the fields and so on?
That goes through Dan.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the other issue that came up was when there was originally talk about some extra parking, the police department was interested in some extra parking, kind of extending their lot, because they have that community room, I forget exactly what it's called. But even like during the day, sometimes you will see cars lined up the driveways and things like that, because they don't have a lot of parking. So I think they were looking for some potential extra parking. And then at night, even when we have, say, like field rentals and things like that, if they were using something during the day, the thought would be like, well, that would be extra parking space will be available for someone who's using the field space. So at some point during the conversation, obviously, you know, police might want to get invited in. I do think we just need to get like a working group together to at least, you know, have some discussion about, you know, the history of it, what it was used for, any of the potentials it could be, and there might be additional people we have to pull in. I really don't know how big this could become, but that just seemed like a good first.
I think it's a good first group. I think my concern would be is that when you put Dan Hart, and I love Dan, it's not like a knock against, when you put, everybody's like sports. Everybody immediately thinks sports. And I think we have just a lot of sports-related focus in the town, right? That's all. So.
Well, I guess, you know, what I would say is that, you know, it's going to be obviously the recommendation of the committee.
Sure. Yeah.
And ultimately, it's really going to be the decision, I believe, of the select board.
Yep.
In terms of what's going to happen, so.
Yeah, it's
Voted on by town meeting.
Or
It's-
town meeting,
it's kind of an-
right.
It's a little bit of an odd thing where, yes, it's located on school property.
No, I
so
get it.
we're being asked to kind of weigh in on it, but it would really kind of get kicked back with the recommendation to the Department of Public Works. And then it would be something that would go on a future town meeting warrant article, and it would have to be discussed at town meeting. I don't see this being something that the school department or the school committee really drive as far as the new project's concerned. That's what we have to kind of figure out what we'd recommend that space even be used for.
Yeah, I don't think it would be our warrant article. I think it would be the select
Probably.
board's article.
Well, probably whoever would be leading the charge to do whatever the change is.
Right,
Or
right.
however that place is going to be redeveloped.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great.
so it sounds to me like if the committee has good representation and it's well-rounded representation, that's the goal. There's really nothing else that, because it's going to be a recommendation.
Right, it's to begin the process. And there may be other things that come out, you know, after the first meeting and discussion that, you know, Are there other people that may be invited in, or committee members that may go out and solicit information from other people?
Again, not to belabor this, we might have a meeting or two and then kind of figure out, all right, we've got 3 or 4 or 5 different like possibilities.
No.
Maybe we want to host a listening session and just open it up to the public to have the public come and give some input on it too. I don't know where it would go, but I think, a group of, 6 to 8 or 9 people is a good start to kind of banter it around and figure out where to go.
So when we take a look at possibility for the first meeting, are either of you available the 5th, 6th, or 7th of July?
I am available any of those days. I just let me know times and stuff.
Yeah, I'm available. Tired.
Those are days that's best for you.
Yeah, I'm, 5, 6, or 7 work for me as well. Why don't, as long as I know it works for the two of you guys, why don't I reach out to the other folks tomorrow and just see if there's a common date and time that we could have a first get-together?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Thanks for hearing me out on that. I just
gotcha.
appreciate it.
All right, next up, middle school.
Yeah, just a quick update for you on the middle school reconfiguration work that we've been taking place. Put a little memo in the packet, just to provide you a little bit of information around a group we put together earlier this spring to take a look at facilities in general. We talked a little bit about our long-term facility plan, our short-term facility plan. Obviously, we submitted a statement of interest to the MSBA for a new middle school, citing Parker as the middle school for that. And then the discussion with Dorn Whittier when they were here, as well as even DM Group around some of the strategic planning, identified some areas of opportunity within the middle schools to possibly reconfigure and do things a little bit differently in the short term before we were ever to get a longer-term middle school project hopefully funded within the town. So a working group convened of staff from both schools to give me some input. We ended up having an in-person and a remote public input session that I put at the very bottom of this link, a copy of the video, so you can actually log on if you'd like to. If you didn't have a chance to see it, we recorded the virtual session. So that link is there for people to be able to see. And then we also had done a PowerPoint that night with some of the feedback we'd received from the working group of the staff, so I included a link to that as well for you, so you could see that. I do, on my end, I have another kind of voluntary meeting tomorrow with staff if they didn't have an opportunity to attend either of those sessions to give me a little bit of feedback. And then I also, at both the in-person and the remote or the virtual session, we did a similar scenario with participants that I did with the staff, talking about, kind of like I wonders and how this would affect me or the kids or the staff of the schools, what people identify as pros or, pluses to consider, and then what people would see as minuses or areas that really need to be explored a little bit further. And a lot of that has to do more with logistical type things with regard to this type of a transition. So I'm going to have my meeting, just to give you the timeline, I'm going to have my meeting with staff tomorrow to wrap things up on that end. And then I'm going to be taking another week and a half or so to go through all the different notes from the virtual and the in-person sessions and putting together kind of a summary document with that. And I plan to share that out at our next meeting in July with a recommendation as to how to move forward on this. I wouldn't expect any move of the committee that night. I want you to just kind of take it in and be able to see what the recommendation is. And then hopefully, if there is a recommendation to move forward with this, take that up at one of our August meetings so that we could have a decision made and then we could start the school year. And if this is a direction that the committee would like to go in, if that is the recommendation, that would then give us a full year to be able to plan, because I think most of the apprehension or even questions we had were all around the implementation. And the more time we would have to be able to plan that, the better, just for everyone being involved. So a little bit of a timeline for you. Again, if you have a chance, if you haven't had an opportunity to see it yet or attend one of the sessions, the links are good and you can just kind of peruse them at your leisure. But then I will have a written recap and a recommendation for you at the July meeting. And then again, hopefully take some action in August one way or the other. So just an update for you for tonight.
Sound good? All right.
All right, no action needed on that one. The next one is just my evaluation process for this past year. And again, just kind of provided a summary memo to you with some recommended dates to close down last year this summer so that we can then kind of shift in August looking at next year. In July as well, at that meeting, I usually do that highlight report, the year in review. So I'll provide that to you in July with all the different feedback about the progress we made over this course of this past year. And if I provide that to you on the 19th, what we're looking at to be, again, consistent with last year, was within about a week's time for you to be able to go through and provide some feedback and fill out your rubrics and send those to Donna as the chair of the committee. We would then take a couple of days to go through and formalize those into one formal overarching document. That's the document that ultimately gets voted on to become public. And then we would put the evaluation on the agenda for August 5th, I think it is, whatever that first meeting in August is. And hopefully can close the 2021-22 evaluation process at that time. And then the second meeting in August, we can jump into goal setting and work for the coming school year, both mine and the school committees. So I just offer that out as a starting point. Dates are obviously flexible. If people are on vacation or need little tweaks here and there, we can certainly accommodate. But I'll be on target to make that presentation in July and then give you that feedback to be able to work from.
Right, our meeting in August will be August 2nd.
Is it yeah, it was the first meeting, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The second, yeah.
It's essentially the same form we used before.
It's the
No,
same.
there's been no modifications.
No, and again, you don't actually have to like type your narrative into that form. It's an Excel spreadsheet. I know it's tough. So if you just type it into Word or something like that and send it along, that's fine.
Question on the goal setting part of it. When are we going to have the final strategic planning?
We should have that in early July. So I actually have a couple of tasks to do for them this week. We have like a cover letter that has to go with it I have to prepare. We need to work on some pictures for the doc. I know, we got to work on some of that. But it's going to be all coming together. We should have a solid final draft probably the last week in June, next week.
Okay,
And then
great.
early July, that should be finalized. So there's an outside chance I could actually have that on the agenda in July as well, the 17th meeting. If not, it'll definitely be that first meeting in August.
Okay.
And then we'll
so-
use that to kind of put together
Yeah.
our superintendent and school committee goals for next year.
All right.
Okay?
All right, does that work for everybody? All right, just keep me posted if there's any problems with the date. Is
Yeah, and again,
someone that Dennis had to frequently chase. I know that sometimes life gets in the way, so,
I'm the one that's going to be on vacation during that. You have to chase me.
so.
okay. But again, we're flexible, so, as long as we kind of stay within that timeline, we're fine. All right, just your final COVID update.
Ever. We never ever want to have another COVID
Never want to have
update.
to have one again. But for consistency's sake, and again, there are a lot of people that have followed this throughout the course of the year, I just wanted to have some closure for them, so I threw this up on the board for you. So again, as a community, we've always taken a look at our townwide vaccination data, and pretty consistent. We're not seeing too much movement with the older kids, the 16 to 19s. We are seeing a few more students at the 5 to 11 span getting vaccinated. Across the board, again, as a town, this isn't necessarily just Chelmsford Public Schools information, but as a town, we've got 74% of our 5 to 11-year-olds have received at least a dose, and 66% are complete. And then we jump to our middle category, our kind of middle school, freshman, sophomore, and high schools. 88% have received at least a dose, 81% are fully vaccinated. And then our highest numbers are with our 16 to 19-year-olds, which is good. And we really put a big push on that. So 94% have received at least one dose, and 89% overall are fully vaccinated. So I think those statistics are very good. I do want to just take the opportunity to thank Peggy and the school nurses for really working all year long with our families around vaccination and all the different COVID protocols we had in place, and they were ever changing. So they did a great job of trying to manage that. again, Peggy and even Remedium Pharmacy, who was kind of our partner in doing a lot of the different vaccination clinics, were super. We're going to take a look this summer to see if there's something we should do for the fall. Kind of waiting on recommendations and things, but do we do another round of vaccination clinics just to make them available in the schools if families find that helpful? So that's something I'll report on as we get closer to going back to school. But very good, I think, strong vaccination data overall. When we take a look at our current, so this is, as of last week, data with the students leaving. 86% of our high school students fully vaccinated. Again, this is just Chelmsford Public School students. 74% at McCarthy, 70% at Parker. And then we have Byam, 71, Center 66, Harrington 54, and South Row 61. Obviously, this mirrors the townwide data, but our strongest vaccination rates at the higher level, the high school, and then followed by middle school and elementary school. But I think, again, overall, our schools did a really nice job of making it available, working with families to promote the different vaccination clinics that we did, so that there really should be no excuse for why someone, if they wanted to get vaccinated, wasn't able to. Pool testing remains strong. We actually finished out our COVID pool testing last week. We didn't obviously do it, actually 2 weeks ago was our last round, the last week of school. About 1,738 participants in this right up until the end. You did start to see pool testing drop a little bit when we had the at-home rapid antigen testing made available, because we were kind of hitting on all different cylinders. Some districts were really just doing, none or one. We were doing the at-home, we were doing the pool testing, we were doing the vaccination, so we were really hitting on as many areas as we could. But we maintained our pool testing data. And I updated my final slide. This is the week of 6/6. We still were doing about 1,150 tests for the full week. You'll see we had a little bit of a spike, obviously, after the holidays, and we talked about this coming back in January and February. And then coming back after April vacation, we had a little bit of an uptick in numbers as well. But we started to level out those last couple of weeks. But, if you look at these numbers, we had over 40,000 tests administered in the schools, which I think is great. This is data that we tracked all year long. We ended up with a positivity rate, again, over those 40,000 tests of under 1%. So, 0.7%, which I think, again, is a good number. There were 283 total positive tests out of that. Those are 283 cases we may not have known about if we didn't have pool testing going on in the schools. So I definitely think it was worthwhile, but it was a tremendous amount of time and effort that went into that. We had very good participation again when we switched and added another option for the at-home rapid antigen testing over this past year. So about 2,400, or I don't have my glasses on, about 2,500 students actually participated and received their COVID tests. We had a good turnout from staff as well. 750 staff members participating. So we were giving out 3,200 COVID tests per week for staff and students to be able to take it home, and then obviously report back positive results to us. That proved helpful. And then lastly, reporting. We did receive very good feedback all year from our weekly COVID dashboard, which just let anyone in the community be able to kind of log in and see exactly what was happening. We broke our data down by school, and then we also separated between staff and students so that we could monitor and get a sense for what was happening in our buildings. This is data. This actually might just be a, I'm sorry. This is just a look at what it looks like, but we do have data, obviously, from last week as well. But we maintain these on the website. They're up on the website with the COVID pool testing data, and that was very well received. So as we hope COVID is done management-wise with our schools, and then next year is going to be a more traditional start to the school year, DESE has at least confirmed a couple of things for us so far. Obviously, everything changes, and we'll get updates throughout the course of the summer. But the state is basically not going to be participating in the COVID testing program going forward. We used to receive the self-tests and the pool testing, and that's not going to continue for next school year. They're actually recommending if a district does implement any kind of testing, that it limited to just symptomatic testing within the buildings, not the surveillance testing within the schools or the district. The state had fully funded all of this all through the spring. If it's something that districts or individual schools decide they want to continue when we get into the fall, it would be a cost that would be borne by the district. The state won't be participating in that. And the state will provide no funding to the districts to continue that process. So those are a couple big takeaways. Obviously, I will look over the course of the summer to different updates that come from Mass Department of Public Health and Mass DESI with regard to what they might recommend for the fall, but this is what it's looking like at this point in time. So I just wanted to provide you that update as well. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Congratulations, we got through the year.
Yeah. I know, like I said, really, Peggy and the nurses deserve a lot of credit, and the school admin and staff for helping to coordinate and implement that. It was a big lift, but like I said, I do think it was worth it, given the time that we're in. And hopefully, we have a nice, smooth summer and can kind of reassess things for the fall.
Do we still have a lot of at-home testing kits available?
Yes, I have plenty. If anyone is in need of an at-home testing kit, they can call.
Okay.
Those expire, so.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask you, but I think that I read something that some of the tests had been extended, the expiration date had been extended an additional 90 days, but I'm not sure.
They did. They actually sent us a very large box of stickers that we can put on each of the individual test kits to indicate that the expiration date has been extended. So we have plenty of kits to get us through the summer, and we'll see where we're at for the start of the school year in the fall. But I don't think, test kits should be a huge issue.
I know we have a lot, I mean, I don't know how many people will request them through the summer. Is there someplace else that we could give them to, that they might get used?
We can't just, the problem is this, we took
right.
the kits in, and we were really supposed to make sure that we're knowing who they're going out to.
Okay.
People do have to fill out a consent form.
Okay,
To
all
take
right.
them, because when you do test positive, you're also gonna inform the school that you're testing positive.
Right.
So we'll still have them on hand for like summer programming that's taking place, and we'll address and see where we're at, supply-wise at that point. It's not something that we can just make available and people can come and, kind of pick
I
up.
understand, yeah.
But,
I just hate to
you know,
see it
we'll-
go to waste.
yeah, I don't know what the state's gonna do, to be quite honest with you, at the end of this whole thing, but if I ever hear something, I'll certainly keep you in the loop.
All right, great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Any further discussion? All right, great.
And last report for me this evening is just your personnel report detailing your personnel activity for the month of May. Bless you. We had a couple of new hires, we had some resignations, and a couple of assignment changes. So these are employees who already worked in the district, but they've assuming a new role for the fall. So I just provide this as a way of tracking the comings and goings of staff in the district. No action required, but I'm happy to answer
the hiring
any
for next
questions
year
you may
going?
have. We actually were talking about that earlier today. For our professional like teaching staff, we're doing very well. We're just down to a handful of positions that are left. We do still have Spanish teacher opening at the high school and a special ed position open at, I believe, Parker Middle School. But all in all, we're just about done the rest of our hiring, which is really super at this time of the year. I will give you an update at the July meeting on that as well, because we'll do the June. We'll do the June personnel report, but no, we're doing very well. And then right as we kind of get into the summer after the 4th, we'll shift gear a little bit. We'll do another push for like our day-to-day subs, because we'll need to replenish that pool for the fall. Paraprofessionals, they're taking a look at based on IEP needs and students where they're moving through the district, where we might need to shift or allocate or add para positions. So that's all ongoing now. But from a teaching standpoint, we're doing very good.
All the new positions that came up, that's psychologists and social workers, all that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shannon Bischoff, we were talking to her last week, they had 3 phenomenal. She's very excited about the 3 new social workers that we have. So a lot of that's in play, and I'll try to note it when I put the next report together for you. But very good on that front.
All right, does anybody have any liaison reports? Do you want to talk about your bus adventure?
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
So Linda enjoyed it too. So we ended up, I was a raffle prize. This was for the Harrington. They had the PTO was doing a raffle prize. You might know, at one of the things. So they were looking for prizes, and the big one was the ride to school in the police car with Officer Rossi. But I said, I'm no Officer Rossi, but I would be happy to take some kids to school on a new bus. So we have the new wrapped bus. So I was a raffle prize, and kids put in their tickets to try to win the ride to school with me. And I picked up a number of great elementary school kids from the Harrington the Wednesday before we got out of school. So we picked up some donuts and juice, and Linda jumped on the bus with me and helped me navigate the streets of Chelmsford, and we picked up students. I did buy donuts, which is my thing, and I wasn't really thinking, but I got some of the donuts with sprinkles, so there are sprinkles all over the bus right now. That probably wasn't there it is. That probably wasn't the best idea, but the kids had a good time. A couple of them were having luau's in their school that day. Yeah, they are getting on the bus with me. But we had a good ride to school. It was a good time, yeah.
Excellent.
That's terrific.
This is very impressive.
It is, yeah, no, it's sharp. The sports teams really like it, even some of the clubs at the high school, because it just requires a regular driver's license. You don't have to have a special license, and it can seat 14. So a lot of the smaller clubs or teams, they can just take it and kind of go on their own, and you're not at the beholden to the bus company for getting a bus. So it worked out really good.
Right.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Linda had to.
They just happen to have the pictures.
Isn't that funny?
Totally ad lib.
I'm on Facebook.
Is this a setup?
No, I just worked fast. As soon as it came up, I'm like, I know where the pictures are.
All right, sorry, did anybody else have any other liaison reports? Okay. Any new items that people?
For next meeting,
Yeah,
looking
I
for
would
new
say we're
things?
probably taking a look at the
I
next
looked
three
into
meetings.
the registration updates on the K.
Yep.
What's going on with that?
And then I just had a couple, just an update on where we're at with our special education transportation contracts.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think we had talked about doing an ESSER grant report in August, maybe?
We will do a report. The dates don't obviously line up with our
Right.
fiscal year end, but as soon as we can get done our first
Oh,
reporting
yeah,
cycle.
absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Sure. We were looking at also getting an update on the handbook, the employee handbook.
Yeah, that'll likely be on the July meeting anyway.
One group that we didn't get a chance to hear from, so maybe we could kind of get them up first in September or October, is SPED and ELL. And then also to find out where we're at on, I know we'd already talked about ideas, but generally the School Climate and Culture Subcommittee, where we're going to go with that. All right, and then this is, I didn't know if Robin was going to help us out with this, but I believe that there's an early bird special for the conference in November.
Oh, for the MASC one?
Yeah. So should we let Robin know?
Yeah, I tell you what, Robert, yeah, won't mind doing that at all. I'll ask her to maybe send an email out to you tomorrow or the next day to just see if you're going. If you are going, she could process the paperwork to get the early bird
Yeah,
one.
get the early bird special. So.
They're gonna do it same place, same format?
Yeah, they're staying at the same
Yeah.
place.
Same thing.
On the
Yeah.
Cape, right?
Yes.
It's on the Cape, and same, I forget the name of the
I
hotel.
think at
but
one
it's
point
the
they
same
move
one.
it, like come up to Boston or something.
Something
Yeah.
conference center. Yeah,
Yeah, they-
Hyannis Conference Center.
They've done it there forever.
I know, but it's just,
I know.
They're doing the resolutions first day this year, right?
Yes, first day is the resolutions. So anybody that wanted them, they had to be in by June 1st. So we should be getting some notification about what those are.
Did you get an email about the early registration?
I got it in the, our flyer. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah, in the mail, yes.
okay. I'll try to find out what it is, and we'll get something out to you. And if you are going to go, if we can do the early bird, that's totally fine.
All right, and then our next meeting is on July 19th. All right. At this point, I don't believe we have anybody else for a public comment. I don't know if anybody's heard anything, any emails that need to be read into the minutes. All right. And if that's the case, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that we adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you, everybody.